All right, let's jump into another deep dive. This time we're tackling Dennis Hauck's Too Late.
Oh, Too Late.
Yeah, it's a 2015 neo-noir thriller.
Yeah.
And it's got this incredible visual style.
Yeah.
Like it grabs you, you know?
Uh-huh.
And the story, well, it kind of unfolds like a puzzle box.
Interesting.
So get ready, because we're going deep on the themes, the visuals, and of course, John Hauck's.
Oh, John Hauck's is fantastic.
I know, right?
I think what really gets me about Too Late is it takes those classic noir elements. Oh, you know, the cynical detective, the femme fatale, that kind of seedy underbelly of Los Angeles.
Right.
But it really spins them into something totally new.
Definitely.
It embraces the darkness, the regret, the brokenness.
Yeah.
But it also finds these glimmers of hope, like in the most unexpected places.
Let's talk about the structure. Or the elephant in the room, maybe the ticking clock, I don't know.
Right.
Too Late is told in these 5 long, unbroken takes. It's a bold move.
It definitely is a statement.
Yeah.
Using these long takes, it's like Hauck creates the cinematic pressure cooker, you know?
Oh, total.
You're trapped in those moments with the characters experiencing their anxieties in real time. There's no escape.
Yeah, no quick cuts to relieve the tension.
Exactly. It's a choice that forces you to confront that rawness.
And then the violence, when it hits, it's so jarring.
Absolutely. The violence in Too Late is never gratuitous, you know?
Right.
It's sudden, brutal, always has consequences. You're left reeling, just like the characters.
And then there's the fact that they shot on 35mm film.
Oh, yeah.
It gives the whole film this gritty, tactile quality that's almost at odds with, you know, today's digital world.
I think that's a really sharp observation, actually.
Really?
Yeah, using 35mm film.
Yeah.
It's not just an aesthetic choice, it's thematic.
Okay, I like that. How so?
It gives the film this nostalgia, like a past that you can't quite grasp.
Yeah.
The grain, the imperfections of the film stock. Right?
It mirrors the way memory works, how the past keeps intruding on the present.
Oh, wow. That's good. Speaking of the past, this film is obsessed with it. Regret, redemption.
Yeah.
The choices we make that define us, those themes, they're everywhere.
I agree.
Yeah.
Every character is haunted by something. They're all searching for some absolution, some way to make peace with those shadows.
Right.
And the nonlinear structure, the way it jumps back and forth in time, it reflects that fractured sense of self, the way memory can be unreliable.
Let's talk about John Hauck.
Yes.
As Mel Sampson, the private investigator.
Yes.
He just embodies this weariness.
Oh, he does.
This sense of having seen too much and not being able to escape his past.
John Hauck is brilliant at portraying those characters who are on the fringes.
Right.
You always feel like there's this deep well of emotion. And Mel, he's burdened by guilt, trapped in that self-destruction.
Yeah.
But there's also this compassion, a yearning for connection. You can see it in his eyes. He's a mess, but you can't help but root for him.
Exactly. That's what makes his performance so great. He makes you feel for Mel, even when he's messing up.
I know. If you're a fan of Hauck's,
oh, yeah,
you got to check out his other work.
Definitely. He's
incredible in Winter's Bone, The Sessions, even Marcy May Marlene.
Oh, I love that one.
I know, right? He's drawn to these complex characters, people trying to find their place.
For sure.
Now, we can't forget Crystal Reed as Dorothy Mahler. She's incredible.
Oh, she is fantastic.
Yeah.
Dorothy really is the catalyst for everything. She represents a lost innocence, this purity that Mel wants to protect. But he's also part of the force destroying her.
It's that classic femme fatale archetype.
Right, but Hauck subverts it. Dorothy has agency. She has depth. She's not just a damsel in distress.
There's that scene where she's dancing in the strip club.
Yes.
It's beautiful, but so sad. You can see the hope and the despair.
That scene really shows the duality of Dorothy.
Yeah.
She's drawn to the darkness and trying to escape it.
Absolutely. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And it really speaks to the film's exploration of the entertainment industry and how destructive it can be.
I totally agree.
And the setting, Los Angeles, it becomes a character itself.
Oh, absolutely. Los Angeles in Too Late isn't that glamorous, sunny city.
Not at all.
It's this grimy, neon-lit place where dreams go to die. It's a place of fleeting connections, hollow promises, and it reflects the characters' inner lives.
Yeah, and those long takes, I feel like they emphasize that sense of being lost. Yeah. Like you're just wandering in this sprawling city.
Definitely. They really heighten that feeling of claustrophobia. of being trapped but never going anywhere.
Right.
It's a visual metaphor for their struggle.
There's so much symbolism in this film.
Oh, yeah.
Like all the clocks.
The clocks.
They're everywhere.
They are.
They're a constant reminder of time slipping away.
Yeah, they're visual motifs underlining the film's preoccupation with time, memory, and the consequences of our choices. It's that tension between trying to outrun the past and being tethered to it.
It's like ticking time bomb waiting to explode.
And that's what makes Too Late so compelling.
Yeah.
It's this slow burn, this meditation on regret, but it's also visually stunning and emotionally resonant.
Okay, but I have to ask.
Yeah.
That diner scene.
Oh, yeah.
Was that long take really necessary? It felt like it went on forever.
I can see that. I mean, that diner scene is a perfect example of Hauck's commitment to this style.
Yeah.
Some might find it indulgent.
I kind of did.
But I think it makes the viewer confront time in a way most films don't.
Yeah.
You're right there with Mel as he processes everything.
So we're watching his mental and emotional breakdown.
Exactly. It's a bold choice, and it might not work for everyone, but it shows Hauck's vision. He pushes the boundaries of storytelling, challenges the audience.
Right. So we've touched on the structure, the themes, the performances. What about the visuals themselves, the color palettes, the lighting? What are your thoughts?
Well, the colors are muted, washed out. It's like the world itself is drained, reflecting the bleakness of their lives.
Right, right.
There are pops of neon, but they're usually connected to the dangerous or seductive parts of the story.
It's like those neon signs are almost tempting the characters, luring them towards destruction.
Exactly. And the use of light and shadow. Hauck is definitely drawing from classic noir aesthetics, using deep shadows and chiaroscuro lighting to create that sense of mystery.
It's like a visual language speaking to the hidden truths, the moral ambiguity of the story.
Right.
It also enhances that feeling of nostalgia we were discussing.
It does.
It's like the film exists between two worlds, modern Los Angeles and that romanticized world of classic noir.
Absolutely. And that tension between the past and present is also in the soundtrack. You hear these haunting jazz pieces mixed with contemporary soundscapes. It creates a soundscape that's familiar but unsettling.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. Structure, themes, visuals. But before we get even deeper, what are your initial thoughts?
Well, I think Too Late is not a film that gives you all the answers.
It makes you work for it.
It does. It invites you to engage with its complexities. It rewards multiple viewings. You notice new things each time.
And we'll be exploring those layers even further as we continue our deep dive into Too Late. Stick with us.
So let's dive back into those themes of regret and redemption.
Okay.
They're kind of woven into the fabric of Too Late. Right?
Yeah, you really feel it with Mel, don't you?
Oh, definitely. He's constantly looking over his shoulder, haunted by the ghosts of his past.
Exactly.
He's trapped, like in a cycle of self-destruction, almost like he's punishing himself for what he's done.
Right.
But the film seems to be saying that true redemption isn't about punishment.
Interesting. So what is it about then?
Maybe it's about confronting your past and finding a way to move on.
So not forgetting, but learning to live with it.
Yeah, exactly. It's about acknowledging the choices we make and the impact they have on ourselves and others. Maybe finding a way to forgive ourselves along the way.
Okay, I like that. How do you think the film's visual style adds to that whole idea of regret and redemption?
Well, the 35mm film, that faded color palette,
right.
It creates the sense of longing. It's visual, like they're tethered to their pasts.
Okay.
Like they're stuck in a photograph. They can't escape.
So they're living in the shadow of who they used to be.
Exactly. And those long takes, that slow, deliberate pacing, it lets us sit with those feelings. We feel the weight of their regrets, their desire for something more.
You're forced to slow down. To examine those little details of human experience, why we make the choices we do.
Exactly. And in a world where everything is so fast-paced.
Oh, I know. Instant gratification everywhere you look.
It is. And Too Late forces you to slow down and just think.
Now, Too Late may not be a mainstream hit, but it definitely has a following. What do you think draws people to it?
I think it demands your attention, challenges what you expect a neo-noir to be. It's not afraid to be slow, contemplative, and sometimes even uncomfortable. It's for people who want something more than just a typical genre film.
So you're saying it's not your average popcorn flick?
Definitely not. It's a film you savor, dissect. You watch it again and again to peel back those layers of meaning.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
So let's go back to that symbolism we were talking about. Are there other visual metaphors we haven't touched on yet?
Los Angeles itself is a big one. Broken dreams, ambition gone wrong. people searching for something they can never have.
It's that classic idea of Hollywood, right? Everyone comes to L.A. chasing fame, but all they find is disappointment.
Yeah. And the film plays with that idea, twisting it in interesting ways.
Right. And what about the strip club setting? It's classic noir, but I feel like it means more in Too Late.
Oh, totally. The strip club is like a microcosm of all the film's themes.
Okay, explain that.
People go there to escape, to hide, to pretend to be someone they're not. It's a place where you see beauty and exploitation all at once, where desire and despair are constantly intertwined.
Everyone's performing, putting on a mask.
Right. And visually, it represents all their internal struggles, their need for connection, but their fear of being vulnerable, trying to figure out who they are in this shallow, transactional world.
We touched on color a bit earlier, but I want to go deeper.
Right.
All those muted tones, the grays and browns that dominate the film, what do you make of them?
They create a sense of detachment, like they're living in this world without any color or hope, and it reflects how they feel, like they're just going through the motions.
Yeah.
And then you have these sudden flashes of color, often associated with Dorothy, which highlight how fleeting happiness and beauty can be.
So it's not just an aesthetic choice. The colors actually mean something.
Exactly. And that's what I love about Too Late. It's visually rich. There's meaning everywhere you look.
We've focused a lot on Mel, but Dorothy's story is just as fascinating. What do you think the film is saying about her journey, about her experiences in this city?
Dorothy, she represents innocence lost.
Yeah.
She's a victim of this world that Mel is both part of and trying to escape. It's a commentary on the dark side of Hollywood and how it preys on people.
Even in the so-called city of dreams, there are nightmares hiding everywhere.
Exactly. And Too Late doesn't shy away from showing that.
I know a lot of our listeners are drawn to films that mess with your sense of time, that play with perception. What else would you recommend they check out?
Well, for nonlinear storytelling and unreliable memory, Memento by Christopher Nolan is a must-see.
Oh, good one.
It's a mind-bending thriller that'll keep you guessing till the end.
For sure. What about something that delves into the dark side of Hollywood, that ambition and how destructive it can be?
Mulholland Drive by David Lynch. It's surreal, haunting, and totally unforgettable.
Both excellent choices.
Yeah.
And for those who love John Hauck's and Too Late, any suggestions?
I always recommend Winter's Bone. It's powerful, and he's incredible in it.
Yeah, I loved him in that.
And for something a bit lighter, try The Sessions. He plays a man with a disability who hires a sex surrogate.
Oh, interesting.
It's surprisingly heartwarming. Really makes you think.
Those are great suggestions.
Yeah.
Now, I want to talk about the dialogue in Too Late. It's sharp, almost poetic at times. What role does dialogue play in the overall film?
The dialogue is a great mix of that classic noir wit and a more modern style. It's not overly wordy. Every line has meaning, layers of subtext.
It reminds me of those old detective novels where every sentence hits you hard.
Yeah, exactly. And it's how the actors deliver those lines.
Right.
Especially John Hawkes.
Yeah.
He nails that world weariness, that dry humor.
Oh, absolutely. I love that line where Mel says to Dorothy,
yeah,
sometimes the things you run from are the things you need to run to.
Oh, I love that line.
It's so simple.
Yeah.
But it gets to the heart of what the film is really about.
It works on so many levels, It's about the plot, but it's also a metaphor for what they're going through internally.
Yeah, it's like each line of dialogue is a clue.
Yeah.
And as you watch, you start to piece it all together.
And that's what makes Too Late so engaging. You have to pay attention, decipher those clues, and come to your own conclusions.
Okay, so we've covered themes, visuals, performances, dialogue. What about the sound design? How does sound play into all of this?
The sound design is so immersive. Hauck uses a lot of diegetic sound.
Sorry, for those who don't speak film, what's diegetic sound?
Oh, it's any sound that comes from within the world of the film.
Okay.
So if a scene's in a diner, you hear dishes clattering, people talking, the grill sizzling. Those are all diegetic sounds.
So it's about drawing the viewer in, making them feel like they're really there.
Exactly. And in Too Late, those sounds are amplified almost to the point of being too much. It makes you feel uneasy, trapped, like you're right there with the characters.
Oh, I remember that scene in the diner with Mel.
Yeah.
He's sitting there alone, and the sound of the coffee machine, people talking around him,
yes,
it becomes almost overwhelming.
It's a sonic representation of what's happening inside him.
Wow, that's really interesting. Sound is so powerful. It can evoke emotions, set the mood, even push the story forward in a way that visuals just can't.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, what are some key things you want listeners to keep in mind? What should they be paying attention to as they continue watching Too Late?
I'd say Pay close attention to those recurring visual motifs.
Okay.
The clocks, the mirrors, they're not just there for decoration. They mean something.
Where they offer clues to the deeper meanings, I'd add. Pay attention to how the film plays with time and perspective.
Yes.
Don't expect a straightforward story. Be ready to piece things together on your own.
Exactly. You have to participate, engage with the film, draw your own conclusions, and that's what makes it so rewarding.
So we've talked a lot about the symbolism, the themes, but let's not forget the other characters, the ones who aren't Mel or Dorothy. They might not get as much screen time, but they're all part of this whole world of broken dreams and bad choices.
You're right, like Jeff Fahey's character.
Oh, yeah.
He represents that dark underbelly of Hollywood, the exploitation, the manipulation. He adds another layer of darkness to an already pretty dark film.
And Vail Bloom's character, she represents a different kind of disillusionment.
Right.
Chasing a dream that turns out to be empty. She's trapped in that cycle of self-destruction, too. Like Mel.
Yeah, it's more about losing your innocence and trying to find meaning in a world that feels meaningless.
They're both cautionary tales.
Yeah.
Reminding us that even in a place like L.A., there's darkness everywhere.
For sure.
And it brings us back to that question the film keeps asking. Can you ever really escape your past?
Right.
Or do the choices we make, the mistakes, the people we hurt, do they just stay with you, shaping who you become?
That's the big question, isn't it? The existential dilemma at the heart of Too Late.
Yeah, and it doesn't give you easy answers. It makes you think.
But I think that's what makes it so powerful.
Yeah.
It acknowledges the darkness, but suggests that even with regret and despair, there's still hope.
Hope for what?
Hope for redemption, for growth, for finding some peace.
I have to ask about the ending, though.
Oh, yeah.
It's ambiguous, to say the least. What do you make of that final scene? What does it tell us about the film?
The ending is brilliant, intentionally ambiguous. Hauck wants us to keep thinking about it, wondering what happens to the characters, thinking about our own choices.
Right.
But for me, there's hope there. Even though we can't change the past, we can choose how we move forward.
So it's about accepting what's happened and finding a way to live with it.
Exactly. And maybe forgiving yourself along the way, finding meaning in all the chaos.
And that final scene being one long take just makes it so much more powerful.
Oh, totally.
Like we're right there with Mel, experiencing that moment of clarity with him.
It's the perfect way to end the film. Too Late doesn't tell you what to think. It challenges you to figure it out on your own.
It demands your attention. It makes you confront the hard stuff.
And that's what makes it such a great film. It stays with you, makes you think about your own life, and that's what good art should do.
Well said. So, if someone is thinking about watching Too Late for the first time, what would you say to them?
Go in with an open mind.
Okay.
It's going to challenge you, make you uncomfortable, but it's also going to move you. It pushes the boundaries of noir, blending the classic with a more modern, experimental style.
It's a film you'll want to watch again and again. Each time you'll discover something new.
I know I have.
Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into Dennis Hauck's Too Late. Hopefully you learned something new about the film.
Yeah, or maybe it inspired you to watch it again with fresh eyes.
We always love to hear your thoughts. Let us know what resonated with you. What questions do you still have? Keep the conversation going. And we'll see you next time.